Picture this, if you will. 8,000 years before Christ, when the world was a fundamentally different place. No cities, no roads, no domesticated horses, just endless wilderness broken up by small clusters of humans who lived and died within walking distance of where they were born, in the shadow of the Caucasus Mountains, where the peaks scrape the belly of heaven itself. The Riverbend clan wakes every morning to the same grinding reality. And I mean grinding in the most literal sense you can imagine. Every single day, from the moment the sun touches the eastern ridgeline until it disappears behind the western peaks, these people are locked in an eternal wrestling match with the basic physics of survival. The women of the clan strap leather carriers to their backs, carriers that archaeologists tell us could hold 30 pounds of gathered roots, berries, and whatever edible plants they could find. 30 pounds. That's like carrying a medium-sized dog on your back while hiking through terrain that would challenge a modern mountain climber. The men shoulder wooden poles bent under the weight of fresh kills from their hunts. Even the children, and we're talking about kids as young as 5 years old, carry water gourds that seem to grow heavier with each step as they trudge back to camp. This is the iron law of prehistoric survival, folks. You can only keep what you can carry, and you can only carry so much before your back gives out, before your legs collapse, before the sheer weight of existence crushes you into the earth. Think about that for a moment. Every possession, every tool, every scrap of food that keeps you alive has to pass one simple test. Can a human being carry it? Now, at the edge of this camp, relegated to the zone where those who cannot hunt are forced to tend the fires, sits a man named Grok. Born with a twisted left foot that makes him limp like a wounded deer, he has been marked by what his people believe are the spirits themselves as one who will never lead a hunting party. In a world where your value is measured by how much weight you can carry and how far you can walk, Grok is effectively a broken tool. But here's where this story gets interesting. Because sometimes, being broken in one way opens up possibilities that the unbroken never see. While the rest of his clan exhausts themselves in this eternal cycle of carrying and walking, Grok observes. He watches pine cones tumble down hillsides, rolling faster than any human can run. He sees how boulders dislodged by spring floods don't just fall, they roll, gathering speed, covering distances that would take a man hours to walk in mere minutes. Most importantly, he notices something that everyone else is too busy carrying things to see. A log floating downriver can support the weight of 3 grown men without any effort at all. The mathematics of their survival are brutal and precise. A healthy adult can carry about 40 pounds for roughly 10 miles before exhaustion sets in. This simple equation determines everything about how these people live. It limits clan size to about 30 members, because that's how many people you can feed and move efficiently. It means surplus food spoils, because it cannot be transported to winter storage caves more than a day's walk away. It means when someone gets injured or sick, they either recover quickly or they die, because carrying a disabled person reduces the group's survival chances. Grok understands these calculations better than anyone because he lives on the wrong side of them every single day. So he begins to experiment. At first, it's just idle curiosity. He notices that a fallen log will roll when pushed, and that objects placed on top of the log will move with it. He discovers that logs with natural notches or deliberately cut grooves can cradle supplies while rolling. This simple insight, that you can triple what one person can move by using rolling instead of carrying, represents one of the most significant cognitive leaps in human history. But here's what makes this story so fascinating. Grok's experiments don't go unnoticed. The clan shaman, a weathered man named Vorthak who interprets every unusual event as either blessing or curse from the spirit world, watches Grok's activities with growing alarm. Rolling logs along the ground? This looks suspiciously like dangerous communion with earth spirits, playing with the natural order of things, trying to make the earth itself do human work. The tension builds as Grok refines his techniques. He learns that certain types of wood roll better than others. He discovers that the diameter of the log affects how much weight it can carry. He figures out that multiple logs can be used together to create a platform that moves smoothly across varied terrain. Each small breakthrough brings him closer to something revolutionary, but also deeper into conflict with the spiritual beliefs that govern his people's understanding of the world. The other clan members watch these experiments with a mixture of curiosity and unease. Some see potential. Anything that could make their back-breaking daily routine easier deserves consideration. Others see blasphemy. Humans are supposed to carry their burdens with their own strength, the way their ancestors did, the way the spirits intended. And then one day, Grok achieves his first real breakthrough. He creates a log with notches cut so precisely that leather bags full of gathered food fit perfectly into the grooves. When he rolls this contraption from the gathering grounds back to camp, it carries 3 times what the strongest woman in the clan can manage on her back. 3 times. In a world where every additional pound of food can mean the difference between surviving winter and starving, this isn't just innovation, it's magic. But the real test comes when old Mika, the clan's most experienced tracker, hurts his back during a difficult hunt 40 miles from camp. Normally, this would be a death sentence. The clan cannot afford to carry a disabled member that far. They would have to leave him behind with a small amount of food and hope for the best, which means hope for nothing. Instead, Grok volunteers his rolling platform. For the first time, his invention will be used not for gathering food, but for saving a life. As the clan loads Mika onto the log platform and begins the long journey home, every step becomes a test of whether this strange new method of moving things can truly change their world. The question hanging in the air as they begin that trek is whether they're witnessing the birth of something that will transform human civilization forever, or whether they're about to learn why their ancestors never bothered with such foolishness in the first place. The journey back to camp with injured Mika becomes the moment that changes everything. Picture this scene: a procession of 30 people moving through dense forest, taking turns, pushing and guiding a crude log platform that carries not just their wounded tracker, but also the heaviest portions of their hunt. What should have been a grueling 3-day march of constant load shifting and exhausted stops becomes something almost leisurely. They complete the journey in 2 days, arriving home with more energy than they've ever had after a long hunt. Word spreads, not just within the Riverbend clan, but to neighboring groups who witness this strange procession. And here's where the story gets really interesting, because the wheel doesn't emerge in one brilliant flash of inspiration. It evolves through seasons of careful experimentation, driven by the kind of practical necessity that breeds innovation. Grok's breakthrough comes during the harsh winter months when he's confined to the shelter, turning his attention to the logs themselves. He discovers that cross-sections of oak trees, IDO, what we would call wheels today, when connected by a straight to the branch pushed through their centers, create something unprecedented: controlled rolling movement. The first successful wheel is blessed, quite literally, by accident. Clan mother Iska's youngest child develops a fever that won't break. The healing springs lie 2 valleys away, normally a 4-day journey on foot through treacherous terrain. In her desperation, Iska does something that violates every social protocol of their society. She begs Grok, the crippled fire tender, to let her use his rolling circles to transport her dying child. The journey to the healing springs becomes legend. Iska's child survives. More importantly, the clan witnesses something that reshapes their understanding of what's possible. Suddenly, Grok's invention carries divine approval. The spirits, it seems, have spoken through the saved life of an innocent child. But innovation, as we know from our own modern experience, doesn't happen in isolation. News of the Riverbend clan's rolling circles spreads along the ancient gossip networks that connect distant peoples. 3 parallel stories of adoption and advancement begin to unfold simultaneously. In the Forest clan, 40 miles to the north, lives a master woodworker named Thara. When traders bring news of these rolling circles, Thara immediately grasps their potential, but she also sees their limitations. Solid wood circles are heavy, cumbersome, prone to cracking. Working through the long winter nights, she develops something revolutionary: spoke construction. By connecting the outer rim to the center hub with carefully shaped wooden spokes, she reduces wheel weight by 60% while maintaining strength. Thara's innovation transforms hunting itself. Her lightweight wheels enable the creation of mobile platforms that can chase wounded prey for days without exhausting the hunters. Imagine the psychological impact on neighboring clans when forest clan hunting parties begin returning with kills that dwarf anything previously possible. Animals that would have escaped into distant territory after being wounded can now be pursued relentlessly. Meanwhile, in the mountain clan, a strongman named Bron faces a different challenge. His people need to move massive stone blocks for winter shelter construction. Solid wheels collapse under such weight. Bron's solution demonstrates the kind of engineering intuition that separates true innovators from mere copiers. He develops the first weight distribution systems, SI, multiple wheels connected by sturdy wooden frames that spread load across several rolling points. The transformation is immediate and dramatic. Projects that previously required the combined effort of the entire clan can now be completed by small teams. Mountain clan settlements begin featuring stone constructions that seem impossible for prehistoric peoples. Their winter survival rates soar. But perhaps the most significant breakthrough comes from the most unexpected source. Young Kira of the River Clan, barely 13 summers old, possesses the kind of observational genius that emerges maybe once in a generation. While adults focus on making wheels stronger and lighter, Kira notices something else entirely. They're nearly impossible to control on anything but perfectly straight paths. Her solution comes from watching fish navigate river currents. She observes how fish use their tails not just for propulsion, but for precise steering. This insight leads to her invention of the swiveling front axle, 2COP, a system that allows the front wheels to turn independently, while the rear wheels provide stability. Suddenly, narrow forest paths become accessible to wheeled travel. Carts can navigate around obstacles, follow winding trails, even make tight turns in confined spaces. The competitive implications are enormous. Clans with advanced wheel technology can access resources and territories previously unreachable. They can respond to threats more quickly, escape dangerous situations more effectively, and trade across greater distances. The wheel becomes not just a tool, but a determinant of survival and prosperity. This creates the first technology conflicts in human history. The dramatic centerpiece of this period involves clan leader Darak the Stubborn, whose territory lies at a crucial river crossing used by multiple clans. When wheeled traders begin passing through his lands, carrying more goods than his people have ever seen, Darak makes a fateful decision. He forbids his clan from adopting wheels. His reasoning combines practical concerns with spiritual beliefs. Wheels, he argues, weaken the spirit by making life too easy. They create dependence on tools rather than human strength. They invite laziness and moral corruption. Most dangerously, they upset the natural order established by the ancestors. But try as he might, Darak cannot stop his people from seeing what wheels can accomplish. Young families begin secretly building carts at night, hiding them in forest clearings, using them for gathering expeditions when the clan leadership isn't watching. The prohibition creates an underground resistance movement within his own people. The tension explodes during the autumn gathering, where clans traditionally compete in tests of strength and skill. This year, wheeled clans propose a new competition, the Great Race of the Full Moon. Teams must transport a standardized load across a challenging course involving rivers, hills, and dense forest. Traditional carrying methods versus wheels. The race becomes a spectacle that draws hundreds of observers from dozens of clans. When the wheeled teams complete the course in less than half the time required by traditional carriers, while arriving far less exhausted, the demonstration transforms regional politics overnight. New trade alliances form based on shared technology. Clans without wheels find themselves increasingly isolated. Darak's clan splits. More than half his people, led by his own son, abandon him to join wheeled communities. The old leader dies within 2 seasons. Some say from heartbreak, others claim from the stress of watching his life's beliefs crumble under the weight of undeniable progress. The wheel revolution is complete, but as we'll see, this is just the beginning of a transformation that will reshape human civilization in ways that Grok could never have imagined. Fast forward 500 years. 5 centuries after Grok's death, the world has become unrecognizable. Where once scattered family groups struggled to survive within walking distance of their birthplaces, vast networks of trade routes now connect peoples separated by thousands of miles. And rolling along these routes, in numbers that would have seemed impossible to Grok's generation, are the descendants of his simple log platform. The morning sun rises on a sight that would have terrified and amazed our prehistoric ancestors, a convoy of 200 wheeled carts stretching across the landscape like a massive wooden serpent. Leading this procession is Ashara, Grok's great-great-granddaughter, a woman whose very existence proves how profoundly the wheel has transformed human survival. Think about what this convoy represents. 7 different clans, traditional enemies who would have fought over territory and resources, now traveling together toward a common goal. They're heading to establish the first permanent trading settlement where 3 rivers meet, a location chosen not for its defensive capabilities or hunting grounds, but for its potential as a transportation hub. The journey takes us along the established wheel roads. These aren't the crude forest paths that Grok's contemporaries used. These are highways carved by thousands of wheel passages, marked by stone markers, maintained by communities who understand that good roads mean prosperity. Deep ruts worn into bedrock show us the volume of traffic these routes carry. Rest stations with repair facilities dot the landscape every day's travel. This is infrastructure, folks. This is civilization. But here's where the story gets really fascinating. The wheel doesn't just enable trade, it creates the first significant wealth inequalities in human history. Clans controlling forests with trees suitable for wheel-making discover they can amass power through trade monopolies. The legendary merchant Prince Gorak, the far traveler, builds an empire based on a simple insight: standardization multiplies the wheel's power. Gorak establishes the first inter-clan currency system based on standard wheel sizes. 1 full wheel of grain becomes the basic unit of trade from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean coast. His trading empire, built on 500 identical carts, all marked with his distinctive sun symbol, demonstrates something our ancestors were just beginning to understand. When everyone uses the same standards, efficiency multiplies exponentially. Picture Gorak's operation: workshops throughout his territory producing wheels to identical specifications. Training programs ensuring that every cart driver understands the same loading procedures, the same maintenance schedules, the same route protocols. Supply depots positioned at precise intervals, stocked with replacement parts that fit any cart in the fleet. This isn't just commerce. This is the birth of corporate organization. The wealth disparities this creates are staggering. Traditional clans measure prosperity in terms of stored food for winter. Gorak's people think in terms of surplus production, trade margins, and compound growth. A successful trading family owns more portable wealth than entire traditional clans possess in total assets. But wealth inequality inevitably leads to conflict. The wars of the moving clans begin when traditional peoples realize they're being systematically displaced by wheeled civilizations. These conflicts introduce military applications that push wheel technology in entirely new directions. The first wheel-mounted archer platforms appear during border skirmishes between the forest clans and the expanding trading territories. Imagine the psychological impact on foot soldiers when enemy archers begin rolling toward them on mobile platforms, shooting with deadly accuracy while remaining completely mobile. Traditional military tactics become obsolete overnight. The military innovations escalate rapidly. Wheeled siege engines can transport massive battering rams and stone-throwing devices directly to enemy fortifications. Mobile command platforms allow generals to maintain communication across sprawling battlefields. Supply trains using standardized carts can support armies operating hundreds of miles from their home territories. The conflict reaches its climax during the legendary Siege of Stone Valley, where defender Yagar the Clever faces an enemy force equipped with the most advanced wheel technology of the era. Outnumbered 3-1, Yagar's survival depends on innovation under pressure. His solution demonstrates the kind of creative thinking that separates great military minds from merely competent ones. If the enemy can use wheels for attack, why not use them for defense? Yagar creates the first recorded defensive wheels, Rieti, massive logs suspended on rotating platforms positioned along his fortress walls. When attackers attempt to scale the walls using ladders and ropes, the rotating logs crush them like insects. But the real genius lies in the psychological warfare. The sight of these massive wheels spinning along the fortress walls, ready to crush anyone who approaches, creates a terror that goes beyond their actual military effectiveness. Enemy soldiers begin deserting rather than face what they perceive as supernatural forces. The wheel becomes a symbol of inevitable progress that demoralizes those who resist it. The siege breaks when Yeagar's enemies realize they're not just fighting superior technology, they're fighting the future itself. Traditional military methods cannot compete with systematic innovation. The message spreads throughout the known world: adapt to the wheel age or be crushed by it. Within a generation, every major settlement features some form of wheel technology. Military leaders who ignore wheeled warfare find themselves governing ruins. Traders who stick to traditional carrying methods go bankrupt competing against wheeled caravans. Even religious leaders begin incorporating wheels into their spiritual practices, arguing that circular motion reflects divine perfection. The transformation goes beyond mere technology adoption. The wheel begins to reshape how people think about distance, time, and possibility. Journeys that once represented lifetime adventures become routine commercial trips. Marriages between distant clans become common as travel grows easier. Knowledge and innovation spread at unprecedented speeds along the wheel roads. But perhaps most significantly, the wheel enables other innovations. Mathematics develops to calculate load distributions and optimal wheel sizes. Writing systems emerge to track shipments and maintain trade records. Metalworking advances to create more durable wheel rims and axles. Each technological breakthrough creates demand for further innovation. As we stand at this moment in our story, 500 years after Grok's first crude cart, the wheel has become the foundation of an entirely new kind of human civilization. But this is still just the beginning. The greatest transformations lie ahead, as the wheel's influence spreads to the furthest corners of the known world and beyond. 2,000 years have passed since Grok first noticed logs rolling down hillsides. 2 millennia since that twisted-footed fire-tender began his crude experiments with moving heavy objects. The world he inhabited, that small universe of scattered clans struggling to survive within walking distance of their birthplaces, has vanished as fissure, completely as if it never existed. In its place stands something that would seem like magic to our prehistoric ancestors, an interconnected web of civilizations spanning continents. Egyptian builders use massive wooden wheels to position pyramid blocks weighing several tons each. Sumerian potters have discovered that horizontal wheels can shape clay with unprecedented precision, creating vessels of perfectly symmetrical beauty. Far to the east, in lands unknown to Grok's descendants, other inventors have independently created wheels, proving that human innovation follows patterns as predictable and inevitable as the changing seasons. But here's what makes this story truly remarkable. The wheel has become so fundamental to human existence that its origin stories have multiplied and transformed in every culture that uses it. Different peoples tell different tales about how wheels came to be. Some credit gods who stole the sun's secret of circular motion. Others speak of trickster spirits who convinced the earth itself to help humans by spinning. The truth, that simple story of a disabled man watching pine cones roll, has largely been forgotten, replaced by myths that better serve the spiritual needs of civilizations built on wheels. Our final journey follows a single trade caravan's 3-year expedition from the Danube River to the Yellow River in distant China. This isn't just a trading mission, it's a demonstration of how wheels have created the first truly global connections in human history. Leading this caravan is Mikar, the Memory Keeper, last direct descendant of Grok, who maintains the oral history of the wheel's invention. Mikar carries something more precious than any trade goods, the true story of how wheels began. His tales, told around campfires from Europe to Asia, transform historical fact into living mythology. Picture this caravan as it begins its epic journey, 150 wheeled carts carrying goods from dozens of civilizations. Amber from the Baltic forests travels alongside silver from mountain mines. Intricate textiles crafted by Mediterranean weavers share space with bronze tools forged by master smiths. This isn't just commerce, this is the circulation system of an emerging global civilization. The journey itself reveals how profoundly wheels have transformed human capabilities. Distances that would have represented impossible barriers to Grok's people become manageable stages in a longer expedition. Mountain passes, carved with wheel ruts, allow heavy carts to traverse terrain that would have stopped traditional travelers. River crossings feature permanent bridges built specifically for wheeled traffic. Along the way, Mika encounters the full spectrum of wheel evolution. In some regions, local craftsmen have perfected spoked wheels, so light and strong they seem to float above the ground. Other cultures have developed specialized wheels for specific purposes, wide wheels for soft terrain, narrow wheels for rocky paths, even wheels with metal rims that can traverse the harshest conditions. But the most profound transformation isn't technological, it's intellectual. The wheel has enabled other innovations that are reshaping human understanding itself. Mathematics develops sophisticated concepts to calculate load distributions, optimal wheel ratios, and engineering tolerances. Writing systems emerge not just to track trade shipments, but to record and preserve technical knowledge across generations. Metallurgy advances to create stronger axles and more durable wheel rims. Architecture evolves to accommodate wheeled traffic, with wider doorways, reinforced floors, and loading facilities. Even timekeeping becomes more precise, as people need to coordinate the movements of large caravans across vast distances. The caravan's arrival in China marks a historic moment, the first documented meeting between wheel-using civilizations that developed independently on opposite sides of the time world. The Chinese wheels are different in detail, but identical in principle to European designs. Spokes, axles, and rolling motion, INC, the fundamental insights that Grok stumbled upon through patient observation have been rediscovered by human minds, separated by thousands of miles and hundreds of generations. This convergent evolution proves something profound about human nature. Given similar challenges, human creativity produces similar solutions. The wheel wasn't a unique flash of inspiration, the Wells paper. It was an inevitable development waiting to be discovered by minds ready to see beyond the limitations of walking and carrying. As Mika shares Grok's story with Chinese wheelwrights, the tale undergoes its final transformation. In Chinese versions, Grok becomes a wise sage who understood the harmony between earth and sky. His twisted foot becomes a symbol of how imperfection can lead to perfection. His patient observations become lessons about the value of contemplation over action. The story has become legend, but the impact continues expanding. In India, wheels enable the transport of massive stone blocks for temple construction. In Africa, wheeled carts connect inland communities with coastal trade networks. In the Americas, where wheels haven't yet appeared, the same pressures that drove Grok's innovations are building toward their own inevitable breakthrough. But perhaps the most significant development occurs far from the great trade routes and established civilizations. In a remote valley, young Tenna the Dreamer sits apart from her clan, mocked by her peers for wasting time playing with hollow reeds that make strange sounds when wind passes through them. Her experiments with controlled airflow, with resonance and pitch, represent the same kind of patient observation that led Grok to his revolutionary insights. As wheels revolutionized movement, Tenna's work will eventually create music, and music, like the wheel, will prove to be one of those technologies that transforms not just how humans live, but how they think about existence itself. The final image of our story shows civilization as an unstoppable wheel itself, rolling forward through time, carrying humanity toward destinations that Grok could never have imagined. Cities with millions of inhabitants, machines that move without human or animal power, vehicles that travel faster than any wheel-driven cart, flying machines that make the entire planet accessible within days rather than years. From that first crude log platform, saving a hunting party from wolves to space probes rolling across alien worlds, the wheel represents something fundamental about human nature. We are problem solvers, innovators, creatures who see limitations not as permanent barriers, but as temporary challenges waiting for creative solutions. Grok's story ends where all great innovations end, not with a final achievement, but with the opening of infinite possibilities. The wheel didn't just change how humans move objects from place to place, it changed how we think about what's possible. And that, perhaps, is the most revolutionary invention of all. In the end, every innovation that improves human life traces back to someone like Grok, 7ds. Someone willing to sit quietly, observe carefully, and imagine that the world might work differently than everyone assumes. The wheel teaches us that progress isn't just about building better tools. It's about building better ways of seeing, and the road ahead, like the wheel itself, has no end.